today we're going to do several things. One of them is gambling. So if there's ever been a time where you said, I really don't want to pay $25 to $30 for a figure that's not even available online, I'll have to get on eBay. You might happen to have a leftover Rohan Royal Guard and just a regular old Rider of Rohan horse. You can add some other spears to make that a little bit taller. You can find heads like, oh, these guys here, these are left over from Gangs of Rome figures. That's right. And this way, I could take the helmet off of them and make something that's a little bit more recognizable, maybe as Gamling's face. References in the corners as always here. So I'll be sculpting some hair on him. I did file some of this away just to make whatever for it. Now I'm looking at his horse. I don't see any special barding stuff on his horse or anything like that, so we don't have to necessarily worry about that. But I did take an Army of the Dead sword here, just because it seemed like it needed to be a little bit more significant for him than that little tiny dagger that he was running around with. I have been experimenting too with a different type of horse for the chariots. Now these guys are from Fireforged games, I think. I'm pretty sure that's where these are from. They are a little bit, I guess they're a little bit bigger. Maybe not. Well, their necks are longer. I think their tails are a little bit longer too, and the bodies are a little bit bigger and heftier. So they're slightly bigger, but these are for chariots anyway. So there's not going to be a rider on there, so you're not really going to perceive the difference. So Armored Wolf, I hope that we're having all the supplies now. You're able to just kind of crank out those dice bags, like we want people to be buying those things like crazy. So we got a couple of those chariots that we chopped up. Remember we did this on one of the previous streams, and I was pretty sure they just about do fit here. So they just about fit, and hopefully that means they will also fit on a 60mm base, which we happen to have over here. Remember we did some basing as well in that last tutorial episode right there. We actually have a couple of new chapters in the Book of Wappel that are all about sculpting, in fact, yeah. So one of the things we'll have to do to those chariots is actually add stuff like this. Let's see, been completed. Next stages are 5 to 6 different bags and 4 spools of thread. Yes, that is fantastic. That's actually the best news right there, that there's thread to be had. So in here in the water we have green stuff, blue, yellow, separate. This right here is about a 50-50 mix. As always, you're going to see mixes that are of a different type. Some more this, some more this. We have to do, as you see here in the reference pictures, big old banner. Big old banner. Even bigger than the one we did on this guy. Maybe not as long. Maybe about the same length too. Maybe not quite as long, but definitely wider. So a little bit bigger. So we had to change the spear there to make it a little bit longer as a banner pole, I guess we'll call that. That'll be one of the last things we add here. But it's going to be one of the middle things that we sculpt, because I'd like to have it set just a bit instead of being fresh. So maybe it's set a little bit. We either have to do his cloak first or his hair. We also have to do some extra gear on him, right? Because as I'm looking at my reference pictures here, there's definitely, well, not so much when we have his boots, but he does have some special gauntlets. We'll give him that. Here, oh, and beard. Got to sculpt a beard on him too. And again, just the references are down there in the corner for you. Already a sword scabbard on this guy, so maybe not so much. We'll do some gauntlet type stuff on him just to match our Royal Guard gauntlet, because here, there was a big old metal shield that went right there. Metal shield, I had to slice all that away, carve it away. I was actually able to bend his arm. That is one of the advantages of pewter, is that you can sort of, well, bend it without breaking it. We'll see what we can do here again with the banner here. We're going to just bend that a little bit to get that to be straighter. Again, this is a 50-50 mix. So he does have the flowing cape. So we want, actually, yeah, we want to have a nice flowing cape on him. It's going to be kind of like what we did here with our Easterling. So I think what I'm going to do first is do the hair, and then do the cape, and then we'll do the flag. And here, a lot less to do, just to restore the cape here. Actually, that might be one of the first things that I do here then. Let's just, first of all, let's get this restored somehow here. I don't even think I need that much. We'll just go with this. Again, it is a mix of the yellow and the blue. The more yellow you have in there, the more detail you're going to be able to get, the finer the detail you will be able to get. It's just going to, hey Josh, how are you doing there? How are you doing? So it's, as always now, it is Conversion Thursday. So we're going to see what we can do here. Taking some, well, a Royal Guard figure here. Both of them are being turned into Gamling. Both of these get turned into Gamling. Now I might even just put some of this here. And then we actually just leave it for a little bit. Yeah, we're going to put that there. And then we're actually not going to mess around with it anymore. We're going to let that just sit there for just a bit. We have some hair that we want to sculpt on this guy here. Just all finished overbroad. Gleam. Oh, the interference on top of a scaled bottom for the Alpha Legion. Was it the oil interference, or was it just the regular old acrylic interference? Because I still have to. Well, part of me hopes it's not the oils, because I wanted to be able to mix you up some of that. There's a nice little beret for him right there. So Josh, how have you actually been doing? I hope that Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff, well, went as well as possible. So we got to give him a part in the center of his hair. And now we'll just get down to the rest of it, because he's got, I guess he is older. He's got kind of a, either he's had his eyes lowered or his hair raised. One or the other has happened. So it's the acrylic. Okay.
Hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja.
Hey, Captain Caveman, how are you doing? And thank you so much, Bone Torch, for that follow. Guess who else says? He says, thank you. Thank you, little hobbits. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, just, who knows, after a little while here, we might have mega puppet shows going on. There'll be a puppet show for just about everything. So first, I got to make sure this is attached. And then we're going to, okay, we don't want to give him a hair helmet, right? We want to actually have some kind of form to this. And again, the head is from a Gangs of Rome sprue. Sorry, that wasn't too good for you there. Well, I'm pretty sure nobody had a super fantastic Thanksgiving this year. I know for some people it definitely could be worse than others. There was lots of, it seemed like crazy weather and other things that were happening too. So hopefully none of that was part of the issue. Let's just, oh, he has really long hair. So we're going to have to really go big with the hair on this thing. I'm also just going to use water to keep it from sticking to the tool. No olive oil or anything like that. Just plain old water. That's all. I think we need some more of this here. Oh, thank you so much, Bone Torch. Now, what we're doing here is we're kind of continuing a theme. So, and you can watch the highlight of this. I think this was 3 weeks ago. We took regular Riders of Rohan, and you can see we added capes, we added helmets, we added banners, and actually some extra gear right here. So you can check this out from 3 weeks ago. Then 2 weeks ago, we were converting some Tomb King's chariots into Candish chariots. So we did the basing, we were doing the sculpting, we chopped up that chariot in a couple of places to make it fit. And then last week we converted 3 Easterling characters. So you're going to see a lot of what happened here. We're going to be using this on Gamling here. So I hope that yeah, and again, if there's anything, you're going to see a lot of, shall we say, other stuff floating across the screen. And hopefully there's maybe some tutorials that could prove useful for you. Yeah, actually his hair is not super long. Maybe I guess it is. Do we have a thistle in the house? We do. We got thistle. We got Captain Caveman. Now, of course, green stuff is always going to want to stick to everything except the place you want it to. That's another reason why I sort of like that softer mix of the green stuff. Sometimes you just got to use that Mark 1 sculpting tool there, as otherwise known as fingers. And just like we did on the other one, I'm just going to let that sit there for right now. Now I'm going to go back to this one, and I think now that it's dried out and solidified a little bit. Oh, thanks, Bone Torch. Now we've painted, these are the regular Riders of Rohan right here, and we painted these up on stream too.
Who enters my domain?
We got Jera in the house with Jarrett and Jarrett. So this, I hope you're doing good too. So these are some regular Riders of Rohan. You can go back and watch these past episode too. Hey JJ, how are you doing? Now, like I said, then we painted up these guys right here. So we did the sculpting, and then I think probably the next day or the day after that, hey Mini Grinder Studio, how are you doing? Then we did the painting on these guys right here. But what we want to be able to do here, again, is take these couple of figures and we want to transform these into Gamling. That's what we're trying to do here.
So say we all.
Well, thank you so much, Jira, for that follow, or for the sub, sorry. We got another puppet for the follow. He's like, oh, they're too busy. They're too busy to get me. So, Jira, I hope that you had a really good stream there. And, well, you just finished, so you don't have pictures of anything that you were working on, at least not on Instagram. But if there's anything that you've been working on and you do have some Instagram pics of it, feel free to pop that in the chat. Here, let's, we're just gonna get this onto here. And remember, we have to work on multiple things at the same time. That's why we got the chariots out here. Because you have to sort of almost grind this stuff into the surface, make sure it sticks, and then start doing the sculpting. And just like we did here. So let's see. So JJ, I hope that you're doing good too. You see there's these different colors here of the green stuff. You can see that's way more blue than that. And then these are sort of in between. Well, each one of these is a different formulation. The more yellow that you have in there, the more, let's just say, the more detail you're going to be able to get, the finer the detail. The more blue that you have in there, well, it's going to be stronger. The downside is that it might take longer to set, for sure. Now, let's see. Oh, thank you so much. The host, for the most, it's Ride to Ruin, and the world's ending. And where's there he is. Poof. There he is. He's like, yeah, it's a red day. Shh, there's Theoden. Let's see. Any tips for getting started with green stuff and painting minis for a couple of years? So the main thing to remember about the green stuff is this. That the more of this you have a different consistency than this. So this is about 50-50. The green that you see there is about 50-50. The mix that I'm going to use for banners is going to have way more blue in it. The mix that I'm going to use to rough out cloaks is going to have more blue. Finer things like maybe the beard and those other fine details, that is going to happen with more of the yellow. And that's what we're going to get into here. You can even see it here on the chariot. Right there. You see how that's got a little bit more of the yellow in it, and other parts are more blue. The parts where there's more yellow, that's where things are going to be more fine. So it looks like Jera has a charity stream going. So if Jera wants to post anything about her charity or charity stream in the chat, feel free to do so. I think we've got that all caught up. Now we got to add a little bit of, well, something here to his arm as well. So we're just going to get some green stuff on there. Also, the green stuff is going to want to stick to everything except the surface that you want it to. And you could use oil or something like that to keep it from sticking, but I just take regular old water. Just regular old water. That's all I'm going to use. Because if you use oils or something like that, like olive oil or whatever, you'll have to wash that junk off, and I just don't want to have to deal with that. Hey, Nixo, how are you doing? And folks, definitely give Jera and Jarrett the follow. Oh, is this so? How have the experiments been going as far as the Hover 8? I'm guessing you probably haven't had too much time to fool around with that, but I'm curious to see if you've noticed any kind of a difference between that and, say, maybe just a regular webcam. So yeah, we're just going to do a little bit at a time. Let's go up that little bit, then we're going to move away from that. We're going to go back over here where we've tried to just kind of bulk some things out here. And again, if I keep hacking away at this thing, it is not going to want to stick. And I'm trying to join that to the hair that's already there. Also, I am trying to sculpt here an area that, well, hopefully once this is finished here, I won't have to stick my hand there again. But that, again, is why I have so many different sculpts here to work on. Now we do have to give him a little bit of a beard here. So I'm actually going to change the mix here. I'm actually going to add some more yellow to it. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I think we got everything caught up. Painting an ornament every day for 24 days. And anyone who donates certain amounts, I will paint a miniature for... okay. Oh, is there... I think maybe Kathy rated you the other day. And then I heard you talking about Christmas ornaments. So Gamling's beard is not exactly super gigantic, so I don't think we have to do too much on that. Well, that's cool. So I hope that he was able to maybe enjoy the oils, even though it might have been a first attempt. So again, I'm just looking to put some of this on the figure here at this point. Nothing is fancy whatsoever. It's just like, well, speaking of the oils, well, any miniature painting basically has to be messy before it can be neat. So we just about have a beard in place here. I'm even going to take some of the other green stuff now. Let that mix in there. Kind of helps form a more solid line. When the two mix together. Now he's also going to need himself a mustache here. That could be interesting. Okay. I thought I remember hearing something about Christmas ornaments. So folks, you definitely have to give Jera a follow and check her out on her Christmas charity stream. Now here I'm just going to try and get rid of that, if I can, without destroying everything else. And sculpting can be a little bit of addition by subtraction sometimes. Like here, I'm just going to have to quite literally cut this stuff away here. There's no other gentle way of doing this. And I'm just going to take some of that, and I'm just going to throw some of that up there. So at least now we got him a mustache. At least that's the plan anyways. Now he's got a mustache. He's got a beard, which he didn't have a little bit ago. I'm going to see if I'm going to get the camera closer. That's what I'm going to do, is push that a little bit closer. Ah, there's my water. All of a sudden, I went to stick my tool in some water, and all of a sudden, there was no water. So again, that's just going to have to sit there because it wants to separate from the metal. Green stuff definitely tends to want to stick to plastic a little bit more than it does to pewter. Alright, we'll catch you later, Jarrett. I hope you have a good night's sleep. Now here's some of that more yellowish color green stuff. And I just want this here because I want to try and sculpt some details on there and also have it stick and mesh with the other green stuff that's there. There we go. Sometimes with green stuff, you've just got to coax it. There's just really no other phrase for it. It could involve other loud sounds as well, because it might not be coaxed very gently into place. And at this point here, I'm just going to throw some water on my fingers, and I'm just going to try and tamp this down. Just to have that sometimes you just have to do something like this. Sometimes you just got to do something like that to make that stick where you want it to. And now, see, it doesn't move quite so much. We are going to have to add some more there. Now we're going to also have to use get more of that fine green stuff. Hey, Monster Mini Painter, how you doing? Yeah, Monster Mini Painter, this is basically going to be a Thursday thing. So every Thursday, I will be doing some kind of conversion, some kind of sculpting. Well, probably something that involves both. Because there's tons of Lord of the Rings heroes that I don't have, and I really don't need to be paying hundreds of dollars for Lord of the Rings heroes when I could just take the regular figures and have actually a whole lot more fun just converting those into what I need. I suppose if it wasn't fun or whatever, then it wouldn't be there wouldn't be quite as much of a draw to it, but it really is fun, and I enjoy the heck out of it. And hopefully folks don't mind watching me do that. I know it's not quite the same as all of the painting. Now let's see, what we have also too, we've got some of our regular Easterlings that they were painting up in the oils there too. And I'm definitely looking forward to being able to do some of the oh yeah, my big Oliphant. Yeah, we're gonna be transforming the Howdah of that, and the tusk weapons. That's it. Gonna be transforming the tusks too. So I'll catch you later. There's Jera. Up and staying up way too late. Promised I would get regular sleep tonight. Well, thank you so much, Jera. And again, I'm glad that you're able to kind of pass on some of the oil love there, because we love our oil paints here. Pretty much everything that you see painted on the channel these days is all painted with oils. So see, we just added some more right there. I'm actually gonna see what happens when I turn down that light a little bit. Maybe that won't blind you guys quite so much. And now it's starting to look a little bit more like here, and a little bit less like a helmet. And we'll probably have to, again, add a little bit more of this here. I don't know, it might have been easier just to work from a sculpting down. So all of the hair should have just been maybe removed. You can see how we're kind of putting a little bit of wave to the hair. I'm just going to move my camera down a little bit closer to this so that maybe you can see it better. So remember how just weird and crazy that all looked not long ago, and all of a sudden now it starts to look a little bit more like hair. If you use too much water, you will have some of what you're sculpting just kind of, well, be taken away. So always got to be aware of that. So we've got decent mustache going over there. What about over here? There's better mustache on that side. Also have to, there we go, I had to push that hair back a little bit. And the beard. That makes a little more sense now. Hey, Backlog Battles, how are you doing? Yes, well, my original plan for this was to be doing basically kind of the tusk and howdah conversion on an Oliphant, one of the Mumakil. And I realized because Kathy is moving her whole studio stuff around today, there was not going to be any time for me to get an Oliphant even partially assembled. So I said, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to we have to make a Gamling anyway. And I found just enough stuff. I found that extra Royal Guard guy. So there can't have that much water there. I'm just going to work somewhere else completely until that water just kind of subsides. That's too much. Too much water. So see, now the hair's got a little bit more of a wave to it there. I'm going to just grab me a little bit more of this. I'm just looking at the... I don't even want that much on there. I think I need actually a little bit less. Let's see if we can do this. Get not too much of that water. You throw too much water on there, your grade stuff will just slide right off, unfortunately. That's better. So now it looks like there's an actual part to his hair. Before it just kind of looked like, well, not much. Now he's got that part to his hair. We're going to try and give that a little bit of some movement here. Again, kind of like maybe the wind is catching just a little bit of that. Just a little bit. And I've got myself a couple of vats of water. I just grabbed a little bit more of my more yellowish green stuff right here. And all I can do is kind of put this here, then I'm just going to have to let that sit for a little bit. What I'm hoping to do is have that almost, come back a little bit this way. And then push that down. This is very much what we did. Remember old 9 folds here? Where's old 9 folds on this? There he is. So that was the same thing, very much like what we did here. We were pushing and pulling. We put the green stuff on there, then we push it, and then we pull it. Hey, Rocky's War Room, how you doing? Yeah, it was sorry that it was a later start tonight. I would try to do this at about 11 or so, but there was just way too much stuff going on here with Kathy moving her studio around and such. Now, where is my... There we go. So that's what those 5 guys looked like right there. That was 3 Thursdays ago when we did all of that sculpting. And then it just became a kind of a thing. And here's some of the Candish chariots right here. That's what you saw me working on with the fur and such. And let me see, where is our... I'm just going to go back over this. So, there's our... Yeah, then we did our Balrog, that's right. I was looking for pictures of the Balrog. That's the Witch King right there. That's the Witch King. So Rocky's War Room, all the not I almost called him Splintered Fang. All of the unmade. There, your first guy, your Stilt Walker there is really looking fantastic. So folks, be sure to check out Rocky's War Room because they got the podcast, they play the games, they do all the kind of stuff. They do some hobby things on there. So be sure to give them a follow too. Now we're just going to try and get some more here. It's so much easier once that green stuff sits there for just a little bit. Oh, Lakes Monster Mini Painter or Monster Painter. Yeah, the Balrog was the last thing that we painted. It was the last day in November. Yeah, it was. Was that Friday or was that the Saturday? Must have been. No, it was Monday. That's right. We painted that this Monday. So yeah, go back and check out the. Actually, it's still a VOD right now, so you can check that out. We're just going to keep poking away at this very gently. Gonna have to bring this all the way up to the top of his head now. So we've got ourselves here a texture that's moving this way and that, not just in one direction. See, it kind of parts there. And look what that does. See how that lets the hair kind of fly away there? Hey, the Wind Shadow, how are you doing? Yeah, now Rocky's, I can't wait to see that compared to Kathy's Balrog that she did years ago, because, I mean, that was when we were really first getting started with the miniatures, so she had tried to do some things with the basing then, and it'll be interesting to see what the difference is in the basing and everything. Okay, now I think we're just about to the point, almost where we can start to block in that cloak. I just want to make sure that I've actually got this beard with some texture in it here. We can't just have him, don't want to have him give him the fake Santa Claus beard. That would probably not be so good. Get that up a little bit closer to where his mouth is there. Not quite so thick on that stash. Yeah, stash is looking a little bit thick right now, so we're going to just try and reduce some of that. Hey, Glashes, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. So we're just doing a Gamling conversion here. We only got 2 of them to do. Now this one we don't have to do his face, obviously. Don't have to do the face. But I'm going to just check and see what do we have here as far as adhesion. Okay, so that's relatively okay. We're just going to do some stuff on the inside here real quick. Then we're going to take some of our mixed up green stuff here. So Glacius, I hope that you're doing well. We're going to add a little more yellow to this. And we're going to do the same thing. It's like what we did to the Easterling War Print, or War Priest right there. Not War Prince. War Priest. A little late lunch and some chillin'. Okay. So you can see how this totally changes the appearance of that, and also really changes the. You couldn't do that. There was all the blue in there. You couldn't make a little string like that. Remember the fringe that we did on? Oh, it was on the wasn't on the Black Knight. It was on Amdur. That's right. It was on Amdur. So let's see what we can do here now with this. First, let's make sure it's actually stuck on there. And see how it's really easy for that to adhere to the existing green stuff. We're also going to do a wee bit of cheating right here, because I don't want to have to be sculpting a whole bunch of extra texture there. So That's me doing a little bit of a cheaty thing right here. Just benefiting again from that. See, look at how this is really sticking on here. Remember when I first put it on there, it was not super cooperative. See, now it stays on there. Doesn't really matter how much water is on there. That's just one of those things with the green stuff. It's kind of like with the oil paints. You just sort of get a feel for it. I'm going to wrap that over his shoulder. Now we've got to get ourselves some folds in this thing. Now, these are hard to take off bits if you put too much green stuff on. It kind of depends on how much it has set. But I've already done that on the hair, and I just took some off on his beard as well. So it can be done. It might not be quite so easy again, depending on how much it's already set versus how fresh it might be applied, or freshly applied, I guess I should say. And I'm just going to have that go right over his arm. So you see we got a couple extra folds out of that. Couple extra folds. Now we're just going to start bringing this down. Gonna try and make sure that incorporates as best as possible with the existing stuff there. Get rid of some of the fingerprints. Hey Cromnius, how are you doing? Yeah, it is, well, it is now tomorrow. It is technically Friday here. We are 9 minutes into Friday here. So yeah, now it is Friday. I'm sure in a lot of places it's a way more into Friday than it is here. And we'll still be adding some more folds to this over here, but that's just going to happen with some more green stuff. And I can only cut into that so much. Yeah, I'm doing a full-on cheaty thing right here. I just don't want to have to be sculpting very much over here. So I'm just going to have that cloak go over the top of that as much as possible. Maybe even a little bit extra of a fold there, and then maybe we do something like this. Where we try to hide that fold within a fold. But as always, we can only do so much. We have to set that aside. We got to come back here. Always got to keep moving around. Bone torch, yes, there's for whatever reason, there seems to be a severe lack of central time zone streamers. I don't understand why. But there's a ton of East Coast and a ton of West Coast, but there are not many of us Central Time Zone streamers. It is very weird. I haven't quite been able to figure that out. Let's see. What's really handy, actually, Glacier, I think you know that when you do the film noir thing, so here, you don't see what's green. And this should be interesting. So all of a sudden now, that hair doesn't look quite so different. So this is sometimes a handy thing to do. Take a picture of it minus all of the color. Because here, look at this. You don't see the different colors of green. All you see is just some robes sculpted on there. So actually doing the black and white thing is pretty handy because, well, again here, even with that canvas shirt, you don't even notice. That's all sculpted on. All of that hair and such there, fur, whatever it is, that's just sculpted on. That is not already existing. So yeah, the glasses that just take a picture of the miniature, something like that, kill the color on it. Next thing you know, it just all of a sudden you go, holy smokes, that's what I really have. Alright, I'm just going to take some of the blue here and I'm going to mix it up with the green that's already in existence there. So Crowners, I hope that you're doing well on this. Well, now it's a Friday. I can say that. That is very much more of a blue color right here. That is a lot more blue. And you can see the difference there between that. I might add just a smidge of yellow to it. Just a little smidge of yellow here. And we'll go here, mix a little bit more. It'll look slightly more green, a little less blue. I know other folks, they mix other things into the green stuff. There's a lot of combinations that people will use. I just tend to, it's either going to be all epoxy sculpt or all green stuff. I really don't mix the two together. That's just, it's not any kind of major reason for that. It's just something that I tend to do for myself, is just kind of use green stuff for conversions, and I use epoxy sculpt for sculpting things from scratch. And we'll go over some of the stuff that we've sculpted from scratch too. Let's get a little bit of a cut in here for around his shoulders. We'll just smooth out some of the fingerprints there. We'll make sure we got ourselves some sharp corners on the robe here, such as it is. Let's give him a robe now. Have that go over the shoulders, or cloak, or whatever. And of course we're going to want to have some folds in it, right? And this is where we might do that double fold again. So we'll fold it once here, and then we'll give it a secondary fold like so, kind of like the wind has pushed it this way a little bit. Oh, yep, Glaciers, it makes a big difference. That's why we talk about all the time that you need to always be aware of just how much one or the other is. The reason I put more of the blue in on this is because I wanted a mix that was going to be very, very strong. I want it to be as strong as possible. Now I can see I've got myself a little bit of a gap here, and I'm just going to try and fill that in real quick here with some of the blue. But you notice how that doesn't really stick quite as well to the plastic. The yellow always is going to stick better. Backlog battles, I only have it in the water out here just so that it won't stick to stuff, because if I just have it sitting on the plate here or on the plastic, it will stick to that. It will just completely stick itself to that, and that'll be a pain. Don't want to have to deal with that. That's the only reason. Now some people will take their green stuff and they'll store it in their refrigerator. I guess they'll put it in their freezer, something like that. Now, of course, that's if you're using an awful lot of it. You know, for people that sculpt with green stuff all the time, that's what they would do. We've never done anything like that ourselves because we didn't really have to. Wasn't really necessary. All right, so that was the quiver that I just covered up right there. Hey, Stila, how are you doing? So now I can bring this back down again. Here we go. So again, we're going to have more of a windblown fold on that side, and then on the other side, a little different. Because here, we actually have to, and I'm going to be putting some more of the yellow over here, because we actually have to have this wrap around his shoulders, right? I think now you can see why we did the hair first, because if I got to stick I had to put my hands all over this stuff here to be able to sculpt that hair. And we don't want to be sticking our hand under this robe here. That would be most unfortunate. I think we're all caught up there. So steel out that you had yourself a decent week so far. Now we're gonna put ourselves some bigger folds into here, like you do. See how these folds start to get smaller because we're just literally shoving them off to the sides there. Look how we're just getting all these folds almost by default there. Yeah, there was the towel bag, obviously a whole bunch of other bag, awful lot of some Nurgle there. There was some Nurgle bags going on too. And folks, be sure to check out the Armored Wolf Etsy page for those dice bags. And there's more than just the dice bags there. There's all kinds of spectacular leather type of thing. We're trying to figure out some designs for dice rolling trays. That's it. Because, well, if we want to do this stuff on camera, right, we need to have dice rolling trays. So you can see all the different colors. We already got 3 different colors. We got stuff that's more yellow here. You got stuff that's more green there. And then you got stuff that's more of a blue here. But how long did it take to create hair, beard, and a cloak? Didn't take long, did it? And remember, we're going to be working a bunch of other things too. Whole bunch of other things. Steel and mixed some oil paints. Trying the jammy odorless thinner that seems to work so far. Oh, that's good news. And look at that. Chromius is on it. There you go. Chromius is on the right on task. Look at that. All right. So here I'm just going to extend this a little bit. Extend it like this. Give that a fold here. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways we could make this fold. But what I would like to have is a fold like this. I'm going to stretch this a little bit. But I got to make sure I've got enough water on my fingers so that doesn't stick. I'm going to fold it this way. And then again, have another fold that comes over the top of that. Let's get you down this way. Fold you this way first. There. Sometimes you just gotta take it and just drag it a little bit. Just got to figure what's going to happen in this area too. And sorry if that kind of went off camera there, but look at so we're just kind of pulling these folds. We manipulate these folds like this. This is where we can really create a nice bunching up effect here. So see we're going to have fewer over here, but more over here to show that this side is more bunched up. Let's see. Chromius is doing some ARC troopers for Star Wars Legion. Yeah, Chromius, if you've got some pictures of those or Instagram, whatever there, feel free to stick that in the chat. So again, we already got 4 folds over there, and we can still add some more. We can still make more folds. But what I want to do first is kind of tighten up some of those, because I did want his hair to kind of go over the cloak here a little bit. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these Rohan heroes and stuff that I'm just thinking of taking riders of Rohan and just doing some conversions of them.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for that follow. Oh, the let's see. The Effie Merchant. There's Gandalf to say, hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja. There we go. We got Lady B in the house too. How are you doing? So, and if I ever botch a screen name, feel free to say, no, 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 you say it this way. This is how you should say it. Ah, that's better. I just kind of had to wait for that to settle. Just a smidge. And now we get ourselves a little extra fold in there. We say, what's the deal with that extra fold? That's going to lend it some more strength right there. Well, I'll catch you later, Rocky's War Room. You have a good night's sleep. And folks, be sure to give Rocky's War Room that follow. Give him that follow because, well, you got your Friday night fights going on, right? Tomorrow? Well, no, later tonight. So, yeah, be sure to check out Rocky's War Room later tonight. I do believe is that 8 p.m. Central or is that 7 Central? I know that the podcast is 8 p.m. on Saturday. Now here I'm going to have to use some of my super yellow mix right there. Okay, here let's get a really, really tight fold here. One that disappears. So say we got a fold right there. Look what's going to happen. We're going to take this one. We're going to push it over the top of that one. So that fold actually disappears in there. Ah, here we go. So Rocky's War, before you leave, we actually have some new Book of Wappel here. Yes, we do. And it actually pertains to sculpting. Remember oil paints? The thinner paint always sticks to the thicker paint. Well, guess what? It's the same thing for green stuff. By thinner, we mean green stuff that has more yellow in it. And always must resist the temptation to keep hacking away at the same piece. You got to have multiple pieces going on. So those are your first 2 chapters of the Book of Wappel, strictly about sculpting. Yeah, Steel, that's another reason why I was a little bit later, is because I was trying to get those things up there as well. I thought that could be fun for people. Oh, we haven't done this. We have not done something like this. What I want to do is have this fold kind of disappear over this one. I'm just going to keep pushing this down. And I can say I don't quite have enough here. I'll have to add some more, but I actually want it to also be more yellow. So we're going to go back to, remember the yellow is always going to stick more. So we're going to make this, we went from extreme blue, now we're going to yellow here. Let's see, so Lady B, Kathy has been, today she was reworking her entire area. She'll be doing that again tomorrow. And I would suspect also into Saturday. I think that it's going to take till Sunday before she has that in any sort of fine-tuned working condition. And even then, the first stream or 2 could be mischievous. It could be a little bit interesting. All right, we're going to take this yellow here. I got to give that a little bit. Got to give that a few minutes at least. So folks, if you're wondering what the heck the Book of Wappel is, it is basically things that we have learned here, or even before this, that pertain to, well, now sculpting in addition to painting, but little things that we've learned that are kind of easy to remember, those little one and a half sentence type things, where you say, oh, that's right, if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. Little helpful reminders to keep you out of trouble. Now I'm going to push this over here to hopefully make more of a fold this way. There we go. You can see how that yellow wants to, how that meshes into the existing green stuff so much easier. And I've tried it. I've tried putting the more blue mix over. Oh my goodness. You just end up with a silly little line right there that never wants to go away. It just doesn't want to go away. Okay, that should be under his arm here. Just make a little change. Also want that to look like it's going underneath his cloak. Now it does. I'm going to push this cloak down even further here. And as far as tools go, it's just like with the oils, the painting period, any brush can be a blending brush. Well, guess what? With the oil, or with the greens, anything can be a sculpting tool. I mean, I know there's companies that sell all the fancy schmancy tools and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean that's all well and good, but really, you can make anything work as a sculpting tool. I've made paper clips work. Let's see. So this was originally just another rider of Rohan. Now we did add, this is one of the extra heads from the Gangs of Rome sprues right here, because I wanted to sculpt some hair on him and give him a beard and everything, because here, this is just another one of those Royal Guard sculpts, right? And yeah, I mean, he's got a mustache and a beard. He could be Gamling. He could also be Melvin. I mean, he could be anybody, right? So I wanted at least this one because this is how he's going to be. That one's right there just in case he gets knocked off his horse. This is the one I'm going to be using all the time. So I really wanted to make sure that I had something to actually represent him on horsey. So you can see I'm extending that cloak a little bit, and you can see I can give that a little bit of a shape to it. It's not just right on top of the horse there. There we go. And you can see how that putting that fold in there, that gave it that structural support that we are looking for. Now here, this is all hollow under there, so I have to be really careful. When I start pushing on this, it's really gonna make quite the indentation here. So you can see it's more like I'm pulling on that. We're just pulling on that a little bit. Guess what I can do? I can come back from the other side as well. Come back from down here, and all of a sudden now that starts to disappear as yet another fold. I'm going to use this tool. Now look what I'm doing here. I'm giving that another little push. So as I push that, those folds get tighter and tighter. I'll catch away tomorrow, Thistle. Well, Friday anyways. Yeah, so Thistle I'll be, who knows, we might be, no, let's see. We might be painting Gamling here. I'm hoping to have some Song of Ice and Fire stuff ready tomorrow. It kind of depends. Again, with Kathy doing all of her studio remake stuff, I may not be able to prepare things quite the way I would like to. But anyway, I will see you Friday. I'll be doing something. I'll be painting something on here. So see how the folds here, instead of just one big U shape, look what's happening here. So we're pushing that back over the top of it there, almost like the cloak is partially folded over that. Now again, gotta put that one aside there. Gotta put him aside, and we gotta start messing around with our Gamling on foot. And wow, this stuff, it feels that for a second I almost felt like it cured or something, because it felt so much harder than it did just a second ago. And the idea here is maybe give this some more of a fold there. Just going to use a little water to get rid of some tool marks and fingerprints there. And now here, we want to do the same thing that we did on the other one and just kind of create some bigger folds that go inside of other folds, like this one here. Almost, yeah, like it's going over his armor there. Can also cut this into more folds. Again, have that sort of disappear here. Now, as those just kind of, or shall we say, just sit in the proving drawer, we're going to try and clear off this area here as much as we can. And we're also going to mix ourselves some more green stuff here that's going to be more bluish, because we want to do, remember, we want to do one of those banners, right? We wanted to get that banner going so that it could actually just have a chance to, sort of sit there. Now, tin foil. That is one side of our banner. The other side is going to be green, so you could go green stuff on each side as well. We might actually, you know what, we might actually do that on this one just to give it that much more support. So that banner right there, that was made from tin foil and green stuff. Steel asks, could you use this stuff to sculpt the whole miniature from scratch? Oh, geez, Steela, yeah. I've done that many times. I sculpted an Eowyn, actually. I sculpted an Eowyn figure from scratch. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, because now where's my sculpting dolly? Now, I don't know if Reaper still sells these things, but a few companies actually, I don't know if Reaper, they had 2 different versions of the sculpting dollies. You could also just make this out of wire. But I'm going to be doing some sculpting of miniatures, so hopefully, look, we got ourselves, do we have 3? No, we only got 2. I think our record is four bots at the same time. So yeah, Reaper sells the sculpting dollies like this, and that's actually something that you can sort of attach your green stuff to. Let me just get that to a safe spot there. Now I'm going to get me a scissors as well, and let's just cut ourselves some kind of generic shape here. I know this is going to be kind of blinding for you, but it looks like it goes about this shape here. It's vaguely sort of a chevron type of a shape. So there's that. And I know that makes a lot of racket. And we'll see just what size that, okay, so we can cut down on that size just a bit, but we're going to have our green stuff on there first. I think it only has to be about that long. Wow, maybe we got more bots. Maybe we got more bots. It's been a weird day, that's for sure. So nothing surprises me. I'm going to go with this. And I am just going to cut a little bit more off of here. So that's not quite as short. We're going to be going a little bit shorter than that, but first, let's make sure there's no junk on here. Electron, thank you so much for that. He's like, there's nobody here. I can get this little bit. I can get it. So thank you very much. Appreciate that sub. I'm just going to make sure. So I got a little bit of green stuff sitting there. Let's clear that area out. Now we're gonna take some of our blue. We're gonna have some of our yellow in this. We can't just have it be only blue. That's not good, because it won't cure at all. That's quite the, I guess we did set a record a new record. And thanks again, Electron, for that sub. That is appreciated. So we're just going to mix ourselves another little batch right here. Like so. And you can see how much bluer this is. Especially from that. Look at the difference. Look at that difference. Yes, yeah, that the bots fear the wolf because they know they will be destroyed immediately by the wolf. They have no chance. No chance against the wolf. So as I do this, not only am I expanding the shape of this, see how I'm kind of wiping away the fingerprints at the same time? So we're extending out the shape of our green stuff here. We'll make sure, well, we don't actually have to have flat corners. We're just going to cut that with the scissors or with our X-Acto, one or the other. We got ourselves a nice little piece there. And now, look what happens. But we're going to have to let this sit here for a while. That's why we're doing this now. That is why we're doing this now. A couple of things that we can do to make sure that's flatter. Well, we're going to get some water onto this. And then we'll just smash it onto here. Pull that away, and now it is even more flat. Hey, Pharaoh Rush, how you doing? Okay. Welcome in, Pharaoh. How are you doing? Actually, I hope you don't buy this little side, but it is so appropriate here. It would be so appropriate. Here, I'm going to just snip a little bit of that away. And then we're going to let this sit over here. So just to welcome in Pharaoh, let's take a look at the Tomb Kings. Yes, let's look at it. Speaking of sculpting, that's another reason why I wanted to bring this up here. So Tomb King's army, the Silver Pharaoh, right? Susenes, the Silver Pharaoh. That's not the entire army, actually. It was the first army, or I used the fluorescent paints, but see those blankets on those horses right there? Those skeletal horses? What I just did with the flag is the same thing I did with those. So see, what I did was I took a green stuff, and it was strengthened with that tinfoil. And that's why the green stuff didn't collapse or anything like that. Now check out those guys on the top. Most of that stuff was all sculpted from scratch. The two big blue guys right there, your Colossus and your Titan, not Tartan. Those are sculpted entirely from scratch, mostly from epoxy sculpt, but there was a lot of green stuff on those. So what you can do is you can check out on the blog, just look up the Tomb Kings. You will see about 120 articles on there. And you will see what those things looked like. There's some step-by-steps on painting. There might even be some step-by-steps on the sculpting of those. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to let that other banner just kind of sit there. We're going to grab some of this now. And you can see that's the blue. The blue is the curing agent, right? So, all right, we're going to take some of this. We're going to mix some more of our yellow in that. Oh, hey, Josh is still here. Glad you're still here, Josh. Yeah, Josh, we've got pictures of the Tomb Kings. We've got pictures of several different armies. We've got pictures of the Lizard Men. Actually, we'll show you those later on because we did a whole bunch of sculpting on the Lizard Men, too. Two of the Stegodon engines of the gods were sculpted entirely from scratch. And there's your link to the Tomb Kings put out there by our intrepid moderator. All right, so this has been here just a few minutes. That might even that might be too much. Even that might be too much. We're just going to throw this out here. Let's start moving it around. Like so. Because remember I said I didn't quite have enough on there to be able to do all this. And now, this is going to be the tail of the tape right here. Does this mix easily with what's there? Yes, it does, without having to put too much pressure on that. That's the key. Because remember, that's hollow underneath there. Well, not quite so hollow because we did add some other green stuff to it. But now I got something I can sculpt with here. Oh, Electron, thanks for that. Now those that was the first. Oh gosh, what would you call it? The first mass sculpting that I ever did, because those guys were originally, what were they? Oh, gray. No, they were Space Wolf Space Marines, which of course we had to turn into Grey Knight Terminators. So that was a crazy project there. I learned a lot, that's for sure. I sure as heck learned a lot. So let's see, we're starting to get some folds in here now. But we wanted these to be a little bit more open than on the other side. This is going to be another case here, I think, of we're going to try and create one of those disappearing folds. Remember, we want these to bunch up here. The only way to do that is to get them and then push them around like this. Separate that. There we go. Flatten this out a little bit here. Flatten that out some more. Let's see. Geez, yeah, those Grey Knights. It's hard to believe just how long ago those were. I think we're talking 2007 for those. Yeah, that was a long time ago. So see, there's one of our lost folds right there. Now listening while at work. Well, hopefully this makes work pass a little bit faster. I know that a handy time machine would really make work go much faster. So now it looks like he's actually wearing a cloak that's draped over his shoulders, right? It's actually doing something here. And it's another way for me to not have to sculpt a whole bunch of armor on him, because otherwise I'd have to do that. So that's why I'm trying to go heavy on the cloak here. It's not that sculpting armor is no fun, it actually really is. I just wasn't quite sure what sort of armor he would have, so I figured, well, if I don't have to sculpt it at all, then I don't have to worry. And there we go. Let's take our little tool right here. Push this along. Boy, look at, see how it almost turns into like a little bit of a powder right there. Now I know there's folks that really love their milliput and that sort of thing. We tried that initially. We were never super big fans of the milliput. That's why I kind of like the epoxy sculpt, because it has some of the traits of milliput, but not some of the things that I wasn't super thrilled about with the milliput. I can still sneak I can still sneak that tool down in there. Why? Because it's all hollow underneath there. And fortunately, the oils are going to make it easy to get underneath there. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to try and create ourselves one more fold right in here. Push this down. Just one more fold there, if we can. So let's get that kind of a sweep to it, right? If need be, I could always add some more green stuff to this. I would preferably do that after maybe 15-20 minutes of just letting this sit here. Because we also, what's also cooking, right? What's sitting in the proving drawer? We've got We have our banner that's sitting over there. That's waiting to be attached. And here we're just kind of moving some of these, again, moving some of these folds around just a little bit. Now with green stuff, at a certain point, you'd run out of the ability to move this stuff around. With epoxy sculpt, you can still move stuff around for much longer than you can with the green stuff. Oh, let's see. I wish, but it great to hear you explain the green stuff. Never used it before, but I do see the advantage of the stuff. Electron, we just use the water because we don't want to have to deal with trying to clean that stuff off of the tool, and especially off the miniature itself. So I've always just used the water. I know that the olive oil, I think, is one. Like you say, the Vaseline is another one. We've only ever just used the water. Moving this down again. Look at that. See, we got a fold within a fold. Hey, we got Valendar. How are you doing? Speaking of sculpting. So, folks, Valendar the Red is a digital sculptor. He also streams, so you can check out Valendar and check out some digital sculpting. He also sometimes appears on the Xenalos, aka Xenalos project with Zeltaris and crew. So a couple of things to follow there. Valendar, Zeltaris, Pyro Club. There. Alright, so let's not keep hammering away, but look at the difference in the two shoulders here. Very yellow there. Much more of a blue over here. And it will depend on how much of the blue or the yellow you've got. So here this has way more blue. So this you can actually work a little bit more in some ways. The yellow stuff is going to cure a little bit quicker. Now here, I got to get this into the water here because that would have been sticking to that. All right, let's not put that all the way up there. So this one here, we're going to go back to a little bit more fooling around on the cloak here on his shoulder. And you can hear the tool resisting there. So you can see how that's here. Hey, Mom Gamer, how are you doing? Yep, Pharaoh, that's now let's see. Now Kathy's favorite would be Kalamata, I think. Any kind of oil made from Kalamata olives, but was it the extra virgin olive oil, right? Something like that. And it would be a kind of a Mediterranean sculpt, I guess, at that point then. So I hope you're doing good there, Mom Gamer. So yeah, basically the water, and that's what's in this thing right here. That just keeps the green stuff from sticking to the tool here. So you can see there's a sheen to that because that's all the water that was just added there. Because otherwise the tool is just going to stick right to that green stuff. And that is not something that we want. And I can get in here, do some crazy little fun something or others. I'll just insinuate there's some kind of that little horse design that they tend to sculpt into things like their gauntlets. So I did look and I checked. That's why I hacked off the shield here, because Gamling, he doesn't get a shield. So I hacked off the shield arm piece right here. And yeah. So we're gonna go back into his hair as well, but we want to just let that sit there as long as we can. Let's see. I'm glad you're doing well there. So basically, the idea is like here, okay, this banner thing, I set this aside because I wanted it to actually cure a little bit before I started fooling around with it on the actual miniature itself. So that's why we let this sit for this. I think it's been sitting there a good 15 minutes or so. Let's see. Mom Gamer, it's on Thursdays. I tend to do it's something called Conversion Thursday. So these guys right here, they were originally just like Gamling here. They were just regular old riders of Rohan. And I'll show you what these guys right here, including the banner, so pay special attention to the banner, and I'll show you what they looked like. This was 3 weeks ago, so every Thursday again, and you can go back and watch that session. It's a highlight. So you recognize the gray figure with all of the green on there. So that is all stuff that was sculpted on. And that was 3 Thursdays ago. Now last Thursday, we were, or no, 2 Thursdays ago, we were sculpting chariots. So we're doing that, converting those. And then our very last weekend, or last Thursday, we did 3 of these guys. Let me see if I can't grab the other 2 here without completely turning off my mic. I should have had all of these guys out. 1 second here. There we go. So there's our war priest. You recognize Cloaks, right? This was pretty fun because it was the first time I ever sculpted fringe or this crazy, we called it the bloomin' onion armor right here. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Mom Gamer. Now, typically we're painting, but I absolutely love sculpting. So here's another. This is the Candish chariots that we were working on here. So yeah, I just always stick to the water. I just keep it easy for myself and just stick to the water. All right, so now what we are going to do is we're going to grab, there it is. So this is where things start to get really interesting here. I'm going to take some of this yellow-green stuff here. I'm going to stick this onto the banner pole. A little less water. Now we're going to try and integrate this as best as we can into that banner pole. Effectively, that's going to be the glue that helps our banner stick to this.
So say we all.
Ken Don, thank you so much. He's like, all they got is pointy sticks. They don't have wings. They don't have fire. I got it. I got it, baby. Yeah. They just got pointy sticks. I got bigger pointy stick. Oh, it's much appreciated there, Mom Gamer. I'm glad you're able to follow. Now again, typically what we're doing is we're doing painting. Oh, let's see, where's some of our other... I also do basing and such. So typically we're painting, usually using oils, that sort of thing. But I really love sculpting, and I just never get a chance to do it. So this is my chance to get to basically kind of have fun doing something that I want to do. All right, now let's see if we can find which one of these has the sharper point. Maybe we'll go with this one here. Let's see. Yeah, you could really do all kinds of fun conversion here. I'm gonna get some more of my some more water here. Nope, I'm just gonna use scissors for that. I am just gonna use the scissors for that. So as much as I let that sit there, see, it still wanted to tear away as soon as I started putting pressure on it. Now I'm actually gonna have to put water on my scissors too. That's better. Nope, not enough water on the scissors. Gotta put more water on there. Also, get that green stuff off of there. There we go. So we'll kind of restore this a little bit here. We'll give that another cut, like so. And let's try to attach this. Nope, it could actually be a little bit shorter. Oh, go check out Armored Wolf's Instagram page. because Armored Wolf does all kinds of sculpting. Now he sculpts some really seriously tiny stuff. I mean, just in, oh my God, so tiny you can barely see it in the photographs. But definitely go check out Armored Wolf because he is a very, very talented sculptor. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stick this banner on here like so. And then we're just going to try twisting it a little bit. Hey, Shiner Sean, how are you doing? So this Thursdays, I like to do some sculpting on Thursdays. Typically, we are painting miniatures here, but this is something special that I like to do again on Thursdays. So we got some folds in our banner now. Let's give it another fold this way. Like so. Now, if that were green stuff by itself, the whole thing would just collapse. Now, what's going to happen is this, I'll probably, yes, I'm going to bend it a few other ways here. So now we've got ourselves a nice little banner here. Nice little banner. And what I'll probably do is I'm going to put some more stuff over here, some more green stuff, but that's got to really cure first. We want that to cure first. And again, the idea was that yellowish colored green stuff, that was in there to make sure that this sticks and does not tear away. Because we don't want that thing falling off. I'm just going to try and get rid of that little bit here. So yeah, this is the foil is what's going to give this support, not just during the drying process or the curing process, but even afterwards. So here, let's get a little bit more of that pushed in there. So that is firmly attached now. That flag's not going anywhere. So typically we are painting here. So here's now here's some conversions that I did 3 weeks ago. And you can see all those cloaks and everything. That was all sculpted. The helmets with all the fringe, or the...
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, thank you so much, One Laughing Goblin, for that follow. And Gandalf says thanks too. Thank you very much. So this banner right here was done in exactly the same way. Now we'll just really quick here, we'll show you what those 5 guys looked like before they had any paint on them. One second, there we go. So that's what those 5 guys looked like 3 weeks ago. And we painted all of them on the stream. Now what we're doing, we also have, and we'll be sculpting some more of these too. We are sculpting some Candish chariots. We're taking Tomb King's chariots, cutting them apart, using Rohan horses, Fire Forge game horses, trying to do some of that. And yeah, that's now actually, let's see, some of the stuff that we paint here on the channel, let's go over some of that stuff. Oh, thanks for the follow, Shiner Sean. So we painted this on stream. This was about maybe a 7-8 hour stream-ish. Painted in oils as always. We're going to be painting some more Song of Ice and Fire stuff this month because, well, winter is coming, right? And we painted all of these on stream. This was in October. We painted this entire Corvus Cabal faction on stream, all with the oils. Sometimes we paint busts, like the Darksword bust here. And sometimes we will paint Darksword figures. We paint things, bigger things like the Witch King. We just did the Balrog a couple days ago. Sometimes dioramas like this. And so, well, so I'll show you my Easterlings here real quick. Those 3 conversions that we did last two weeks ago, those were for my Easterling army here. And we'll just show you those in a second. So there you go. Yeah, we definitely like to do a lot of the object source lighting here. Here I can show you some of the Sisters of Battle. Where's my Sisters? right here. And these were also done in oils because, well, oils kind of make everything easier. There we go. So that's my new Sisters of Battle. Again, heavy with the object source lighting because oils make that easier. And we're almost there. Now we're back. So here's some of the things that we sculpted a couple of weeks ago. That was really interesting, sculpting that armor. And you can recognize here that the same little tricks, there he is. So the same little tricks on the cloak there, right? You see those different colors of green. Electron hexagon, I hopefully can at some point because, well, it would be really fun. Especially the Exorcist because, well, here's the scratch built one that I did. So yeah, those were the old Sisters of Battle vehicles that I did. And I'd really like a chance to get to do those again. So that was the Exorcist that I just kind of scratch built myself because I needed one, didn't have one. And of course, I love making terrain and such. There was, yeah, 39 stained glass windows in that because, you know, that's just what you do. All right, so we're going to have to put another banner on this one, but we're not doing that right away. We got to do the same thing we just did on this right here. We have to mix up the green stuff. We have to put it on some tinfoil, and then we got to put that tinfoil off to the side, right? Let's move this guy. Let's move Gamling somewhere far out of harm's way, like way out of harm's way there. Also, gonna make sure there's no green stuff collecting on the scissors right here. So now I can come back in here and I can start to see that. See how that was? It's resisting a little bit more, which is good. That means it's starting to cure a little bit. Now here, what do you got? Tool marks. The nice thing is you just kind of, oh, actually, speaking of which, we have other softer tools like this that we can use. So that's pretty much just in there to take away tool marks. You can see how it kind of, it's very soft, right? It moves instead of just a metal tool which doesn't give whatsoever. That has just a little bit of give to it right there. So we'll definitely check out Armored Wolf's painting because he's also won some big awards too. And oh, Armored Wolf, did I tell you that, you know, I was going through all those old White Dwarfs to find all those Lord of the Rings articles? Well, guess what I found in some of the, well, 2007 and 2008 ones? Yeah, I found it was the Chicago Games Day. Found those suckers. Now I'm going to take some of this green stuff here that's a little bit more yellow. Let's get that tinfoil out of there. This is where we start to maybe really add some extra little bits and pieces here. Boy, does that want to stick. Well, that's the whole point of it being more yellow. So what I'd love to do is have the hair come over the robe right here. Let's see if we can make that happen without pushing things and screwing too much stuff up here. There, now that starts to actually go over his robe. I'm just going to make sure I'm not going to be smushing his cloak on the other side, because that can happen. You'd be amazed at how easy that can happen. And it's so easy to move this stuff around when it's got all that yellow in it. Look at how easy that is to move around. So now, look what we have here. We have some of that hair that's now come out onto the cloak. It looks, again, less like a hair helmet and more like just flowing hair. Oh, hey, Danny. Let's see, sculpting. Oh, yeah, Danny, the sculpting, it can be, it's a weird thing. It is a weird thing. Sometimes it's really easy to sculpt things, and then other times it's really, really tough. It could really be tough sometimes to just get that thing to go exactly where you'd want it to. And other times it just seems to work really easily. So now what I'm starting to do is just really get to finalize some of that hair. And I can hear the tool sticking to that. That's why I need to get a little bit of water on the tool. Yeah, they were the old golden demons. Now I found ones from 2006, and it was interesting because a lot of the stuff that won some of the biggest, or like the Slayer's sword, actually was a Lord. It was the Fellowship of the Ring. Actually, it was a, yeah, you could never do that nowadays. Absolutely nothing from Lord of the Rings would get a Slayer's sword. But yeah, it was Natalia. That's right. Yeah, and her fellowship got the gold, and it was the whole fellowship together. It was nice to see. Well, you know me in squads and groups and units. So now see we've got that nice part there, and again that was originally just a metal head like this, and I filed down the hair so that I could sculpt my own hair onto it. Let's see, Electronica is ruined sculpts, not paying attention while working on the opposite side. Yes, Electron. That is why we have a new commandment. Well, Danny, there's definitely a focus on, well, not Lord of the Rings with GW. It's almost like the system they wish they never had. Well, at least once all the movies were done. And basically nothing that's a unit ever wins a Slayer sword. It's always an individual figure of some kind. And it's been that way. That's why I was really shocked to see that thing from 2006 and go, wait a minute, the Slayer sword was a unit? That never happens. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I wish that wasn't the case because, well, I love painting units. Also, too, Lord of the Rings only has one category, whereas, say, 40K has three. And yeah, there's unfortunately Lord of the Rings is just kind of that poor second cousin. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's kind of how it is. But it's not going to stop me from. What would stop me from? I think the other thing too is that Lord of the Rings figures. Well, I mean this is an 18-year-old miniature right here, or 20 years old. Somewhere between 15 and 18 years old, and it's kind of hard for something that's that old to compete with all the new stuff. So that's another thing too, is that it's really hard for an ancient sculpt, and the sculpts they're not necessarily the most fabulous either. So it makes it rough for just you're kind of behind the eight ball right away, unfortunately. There we go. Look at that. That is so much fun doing those kind of folds. Yeah, that's now for me. I think it was the first unit. Oh yeah, it was the lizard man. Actually, that's some of the lizard man stuff. Well, I think I just scroll right past. There we go. So yeah, I think actually the Babo there and that unit on the side there, that temple guard. What the heck was it? Oh, the cold ones. Actually, those got a silver that first year. That's right. So yeah, those guys right there. That was the first thing I ever entered into Golden. They got a silver in the unit category. And then I know the Grey Knights. They got another unit thing too. Alright, so I think I'm almost good there on the hair right here. I just got to finalize this beard. Now that beard is well established, now I can kind of come back in here and sneak in a little bit of texture. Yeah, can sneak in a little bit more texture there now. Get that beard pushed up more against his face. A little bit less with the mustache overlapping his beard. Gonna pull this hair down. It also helps you, it's gonna thin down the hair a little bit there. Oh, thanks, Electron. Yeah, I've got to get some more pictures of the Lizzies there. I mean, obviously, there's tons of pictures on the blog and such, but I'll try to get some more pictures of the Lizzies up here for you. It takes a while to make the screens because those Lizardman pictures are so old. They were they were done for an entirely different format. That if you're wondering why there's not more pictures of the Lizardmen. Alright, so we got our here. I think that's pretty well done there. And I'm just going to keep checking on this thing. Make sure that it hasn't kind of wandered off somewhere. Now I could just peel this tinfoil right off of here. Doesn't have to be on there to support it. It does give it a little extra support though. So handy to have. Wow, I'm actually all the way down to metal there. That is interesting. Oh, thanks, Danny. I'm just, it's so much fun because I'm doing all this with all the extra armor on his shoulders and this crazy stuff that I never tried to sculpt before. The upside down scale mail like that was pretty wild. Yeah, and that Amdur over here, or this is our Dragon Knight. Where's my, there he is. So you recognize that fold right there. So I'm thinking that I would like to give him a fold more like that. So let's do some changing here. I'm going to change our angle on this just a bit. Take some of that away. We'll reform it here. Yeah, there was a little bit of a hole right there, and I think we've got that filled up now. Yep, there's a little bit of a hole there. Because the idea is to, because they had these really neat white wargs with just there were some markings on them, but they were mostly white on snow bases and everything. And, well, like all the Song of Ice and Fire stuff on those snow bases. I'm just thinking, where's my, here he is. So kind of like the murder chickens there with the icicles and everything and the blood spatter. I thought something like that would be really fun. Yeah, we got to do some more of the murder chickens. That's right. Well, we'll certainly. What is the? Oh, we're going to be having some war cry too this month. Actually, potentially a lot of war cry this month. There could be an awful lot of that. So here we're going to throw in yet another fold. Okay. Taking my tool. And we're just extending out these folds. Now you can see there's an awful lot of water on there. Just to make sure. And the nice thing is I can still move this banner around. I make sure I got some liquid on my hands here. See how that banner wanted to stick to my hand even though I had liquid on it? Yeah, that's why you want to have that liquid on your hand. See, I just smoothed out those tool marks right there. Only 15? That's gee whiz. Alright. Well, what was the other thing? I realized that I didn't have the matched play guide. And there was, I guess, I don't know if this is a thing that happens a lot on eBay or if it just happens to be because of Christmas time, but somebody was selling the match play guide. Well, that's the other thing too, is it's going to take at least probably 10 days to 2 or 3 weeks or something for something from GW to get here. We'll smooth this out a little more again. Because that's the edge of this, the inner edge of this cloak here, or I don't know if it's more of a cloak or tunic. Actually, that's cloak. That's a robe, I guess you would say. Maybe. Let's see if I can put a couple of finer details here in the hair. We're going to try and cut some of these again, like we did before. On our chariots. Now this grain stuff has been here for quite a while now. I want to say probably a good 2.5 hours at least. And see how that's still workable because it has not much of the blue in it. Whereas the blue, a little bit harder to push around. Oh, thanks, Steela. Yeah, it's one of those things that every time I do this, so what would you say, a month from now or 2 months from now, it's another Thursday, and this is going to look like I was using a hammer in comparison to what I'll be able to do weeks from now. Just like with the oils, right? I'm sure you're already noticing with the oils, each time you use it, it gets faster and faster, and it looks more and more like what your vision is. Because years ago, when I was first sculpting, this was some of the hardest stuff for me to sculpt. Hair was not a problem. This was. And for whatever reason, I don't know. It's not like I necessarily studied folds or practiced folds. Maybe because I've had to paint so many of them. But it's so much easier to sculpt all those folds now. Alright, I'm going to go back onto his beard again. Well, the other thing that really helps is knowing about the whole more blue or more yellow in your mix. That is super, super helpful. Now, I'm looking at the picture of Gamling here. Actually, I gotta get some of this away from his forehead. It's also, I was kind of hoping to do that because it was looking a little bit flat there. So just like we do with our folds, it's the same thing with the hair, right? It's the same kind of thing. The more we push this way, see we get those that kind of scrunched up right there. And is that on the GW site? Because yeah, the Watchers of Karna, that was another thing. Yeah, the Watchers of Karna, because I think those are your ninja guys. Which were those were the bane of the existence of my army of the dead. That's right, because they are fearless. It's kind of weird. I've been studying some of those old white dwarfs. They have some amazing articles about the Kandish king and Suladan for the Harad. And that battle of Abrakan and Fazar. I definitely have to make those. Gonna have to make me some Harad cities now, and some of those old watchtower fortress things. I actually might even have to get some foam core. So maybe we could do that on stream. Ah, look at this. Look at those hairs, they're getting finer and finer. When I was first sculpting those were just rough as all heck. They were super rough. Now, not so rough anymore. Unfortunately, all of the Far Harad stuff, even GW doesn't have it on their site anymore. So I figured I'll just wait on the Far Harad and really focus in on Harad and Kand, because those two can fight each other. They were next to each other after all. I'm gonna just use a little paper towel here and try and soak up that moisture so you can see. See these two little, boy, it's hard to even point to them there. So see how that's split right in there between those two? That's the kind of stuff I was doing on the chariots. And you can see how the banner, yes, it kind of sways this way and that a little bit, but even now, even when it's not totally cured, it still has a lot of structure to it. I do believe it is, I don't know if it's PH, but it's PAZHAR, something like that. I'd have to look at the article again. It's an old White Dwarf article going back a long, long ways. See, look, I could still move that just a little bit. The Abracan, I think that's one of the last big wealthy cities that's kind of unspoiled in Harad. The Fazar, actually, that was more of an old Gondor outpost that was abandoned or something like that. It's mostly a destroyed outpost. It's the walls are not terribly strong. But then Candish forces, they're not exactly experts at siegecraft either. So we're just, see, I'm kind of digging the tool in there, just like pulling out each strand of hair. So so it looks like he has a reddish hair. So Gamling, sort of a, is he a strawberry blonde or something like that? He's not all that many points. Well, unless you have to pay, you probably have to pay for the horse on him. So then maybe he's more points than I thought. And horses cost more for heroes. All right, let's do the same thing on this side of his head here. So I'm just taking this tool and I'm just going to scribe that right through it, and it thins down the hair into two separate shapes. Now here we're going to push this back this way a bit. Kind of makes it look a little bit like it's windswept. When I tried to do this early on, all it wanted to do was just pull right off of his head. Let's see how we got some hair that's kind of coming over the top of this hair now. This is sort of like a much finer version of what we were doing on the chariot. And this is why we have multiple things that we can work on, right? As many things as we can work on at the same time. Now this, yeah, I can barely move that at all. If I want to do something with that, I'd have to add some more of my green stuff. Well, I guess we could. Let's see if we can. I'm just taking a little tiny. So look at that little tiny piece there. It's a little tiny piece of green stuff. Let's see if we can stick it here. Okay. We make sure it's adhered. Now, what could just happen there? See, there's a strand of hair now that goes up over the cloak. It's the same exact principle as what we were using here, except even more fine. Same idea. Boy, I can't wait to be sculpting 1/10 scale. So this is the dark sword bust that we painted last month, I think it was. So this is about the scale I was thinking, around this size or so. This would be very fun. Just do some generic faces and then make it so I can cast those just like in a one-piece mold and then sculpt some hair over the top of that. So that should be very fun. Here, let's get her out of the way. just like I did on the other. I'm going to try and put a little bit of a wave to that here. We don't want it to be straight. Ah, see that? It's got a little bit of bendiness there, a little bit of a curve to it. Let's see if we can do a similar thing here. The other side, we're just going to chop off literally this thin little strand of hair right there. Maybe even less. So there's your strand o'hair. See if we can get that attached. And then there. See how that flows over the cloak right there? That is not something that I knew how to do. Actually, believe it or not, I was doing these crazy chariots. That's what gave me the idea. What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Ah, there we go. There's your nice little hair that flows right down there. So yeah, it was something that I played around with here on the chariots and went, oh, well, that's kind of neat. Can I do it even smaller? Hey, speaking of some sculpting, Chrissy Lids, how are you doing? It's our, what would you say, conversion / sculpting Thursday again. We are having some fun with the green stuff here, going old school. Sculpting some more banners, some more cloaks. This right here is Gamling. And I'm sure I'll be doing this for more of the Rohan heroes. I'm very tempted to just actually sculpt some of the Dunlending heroes. Like the lady with the spear. Oh yeah, and here's I wonder if Reaper still sells these. Because they had two kinds of sculpting dollies. This is their simple one. And then they actually had one that had more of the just blobs of musculature kind of preformed. So it was even faster. So Chrissy Lids, I hope you're doing well. Oh, they do? They still sell those? Oh, man. I'm going to have to get me some of those. Ah, there we go. Just move that hair back this way. All right, let's make sure there's enough texture in his beard. I think we've got plenty there. Mustache. Moving it down away from his nose. Better. I've eyed them several times. Oh, Phil. Now then they have both types, right? The one that's got more of the blobs for some muscles out there. I think the one thing that was I couldn't quite tell if that was more of the little ping pong paddles for the hands to start those out. I'm wondering if I might be more tempted to just kind of chop those off these days. All right, well, let's see. I'm going to see if I can put maybe a subfold inside here. And it's a baby subfold. Ah, there we go. So just like, see how that fold goes inside of there? Let's see if we can do this here. Let's see, working and watching. Hopefully get some quality miniature time this weekend. Get some sculpting in yourself. Yes, yes. I mean, to me, this is my fun time right here. This is me just trying to have some fun. I know it might not, maybe it doesn't draw quite as much attention as all the painting does, but I really enjoy the heck out of this. I'm going to let that get just smushed a little bit more. Do a little bit more of a cut right here. And that I'm going to flatten a bit. I'm going to take this. That's the tool that we need. Get rid of some of the previous tool marks there. And I'm just going to let that kind of cross onto the tail a little bit more. I can't quite, of course, none of the pictures of Gamling ever show the back of him, so I can't tell if he's got any sort of a design on his cloak or not. Actually, it just looks kind of very plain green. Well, it's plain green right now. So we've got ourselves, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folds on this side. Hey, lovable Kinder, how are you doing? Boy, God, I could swear, lovable Kinder, weren't we talking about it just like the last week, right, with the Easterlings, where it was just, oh, it's sort of like a therapy thing, right, where you're just kind of pushing some stuff this way, add a little bit here, smooth something out over there. Just like here, I'm going to put that extra little cut into here. Just added one more super subtle fold in there. So all of a sudden, one fold became 2. This one becomes another fold, and they alternate which one they're kind of a, oh, what's the word? There's subduction, right? That's the tectonic plates term. Yeah, one is kind of being subducted under the other one there. Can't wait for all that to, oh yeah, it's gonna be, let's see, do we need to put, oh, we were gonna put some bracers on him. That's right. Holy smokes, darn near forgot. Let's see if we can get something on his arms here without getting too crazy about it. Don't want to go too nuts here. Just spread that out. Real simple. Yeah, nothing crazy. Not too flat. Let's see if we can start put some texture in the, hey, Josh is still around and Minis is in. There we go. I need to sculpt the head for one of my Star Wars Rebels because it got lost. Well, actually, I'm sure that there's some of the digital printing or digital sculpting folks that just have kind of heads like this. Actually, this one right here that has no hair, that's what I kind of want to do, is sculpt some heads that have no hair on them so that I can sculpt the hair and just try different hairstyles, right? That could be very interesting. And then paint those. Wouldn't that be fun? That would be very fun. So yeah, this is one of those metal heads. Ironic, yeah. See what I did there? So Crypt Shadow likes the sculpting and a lot of people painting. Not enough sculpting. Yeah, Crypt Shadow, I asked around. I said, so first of all, is anybody actually sculpting just like traditional green stuff, epoxy sculpt type sculpting? There was a few that were. And I know there's a couple, but not that many. So I thought, well, maybe that's something that people just don't get to see. So I'm just going to try and put a couple of different little shapes in here. Sort of like a horse there. That's the horse's neck and his head there. It pretty much is a common thing with all the little gauntlets. And then, just like the folds here, right? This tool can only go so fine as far as how much it can cut. If I push it like this, I get a much finer cut out of that. If I push it like this again from the other side. So all of a sudden, all the shapes that I put in there, they get compressed. It's just like the folds right here. Just like the folds. But if I compress it like this, I can get way tighter, smaller shapes than I otherwise could. Yeah. So that was a gauntlet, what, like 5-10 minutes tops, something like that. Oh, let's see, so Berserker Works is getting into that. Okay. I'm just going to pull that a little more. Yeah, I like that shape. This is going to be a little tricky right here because I sort of forgot about these things. I guess well, it would have been a heck of a lot easier if they went before the banner, but it is what it is. All right, now hopefully you guys can see this here. And we'll just put our finger on the horsey there, just trying to stabilize him a little bit. Push this on. You can see I've sculpted it a little bit bigger than it needs to be. Why? Because I want to be able to compress it, right? It's a pretty simple thing here. We're just basically putting like an outline. Oops. Hopefully you can see that. We're just kind of putting a little outline around here. A little bit of an outline. And then we'll do our little diamond shape there. And a horsey head here. Another one there. Take away some of that water so I can see what the heck I've actually got here. And then I'm going to start compressing it. I'm going to squeeze this here, and all of those lines become much sharper. Now I'm going to need this tool just because I can't get the other one in there. So again, using that kind of it's almost like an airbrush thing. It's like a double action. First it's kind of flattened out, and then we smush it together, compress it. We did the same thing for the hair. We did the same thing for the folds. It's a lot of pushing and pulling. Push some of the green. Sometimes we're pushing it. Sometimes we are pulling it. Now I know you can't quite see that there. I'm going to go back over here just with to match up what I did over on this side. Just pull that away from his arm a little bit. Push that back down. Again, I'm going to try and match what I did on that side over here. A little bit more of a diamond shape. Again, horse's head here. And on that side, lots of water on this thing. The water, that is what's going to keep all of that stuff from sticking to the tools. And then it just evaporates, and then we'll just hit it with our same old, as always, Badger Stano Res Primer. Same thing you see me using all the time. And we'll obviously be painting these with the oils, like we always do. Yeah, so this right, there was a nasty little fold that happened right in there. I just used some of my additional green stuff over here, threw it on there, and poof. Now, if I wanted to create another fold in here, I could probably grab that green stuff and throw that right in there. I don't know if I'm going to do that. Nope. That's something I would probably have to wait to do until this cured here. Because remember, that is open. There's no support under there. Now, that's just something you cannot do with casting. There's no way you could cast something like that. Just there's too much of an undercut. The advantage of sculpting. Push this out ever so slightly from the horse there. And you can see that that's holding up nicely. Now, let's say we wanted to have that. You could brace it with this, right? Just some blue tack. We could put some of that here so that it doesn't fall down. But because it's got more of the blue, you can see it's pretty stable. That's pretty stable there. It's been there for quite a while. Let's see. Is an odd drink more when fighting a bug than not? So I'm going to make that just a bit finer here. Just a little bit finer. Remember, that's the extra hair that we added, right? So that would go over the top of the cloak like this. All right, now that that's in place, I might just push that cloak down a little bit more. Because that's where the shield thing was. And instead of me having to resculpt all that kind of stuff, I just say, to heck with it. It's just going to be like his sleeve or something.
Who enters my domain?
I'll be dead. Gaming enters the domain. I'll be dead. How are you doing? We're having some fun here, doing some sculpting. It's our conversion Thursday, as we like to call it. And what we're doing here is we are taking a little of, we'll just leave that here. So this is basically Gamling. So see the reference pictures there? We just took another regular old Rider of Rohan, essentially the same as these guys right here. And we put a metal head on him with the hair filed off. We sculpted the hair, the beard, the cloak. We've done a banner for him. Thank you so much. I just and here, here's the so here's the on foot version again. Did a banner for him. We did some cloak sculpting right there, and it's very much like what we did here on our Easterling Warpreet. This was last week's sculpting session here, and you can see the different colors of the green stuff. This being more solid because it has more of the blue in it. And then we're able to get more detail here where the yellowish color is. We have also been sculpting some more on our Candish chariots here because, well, we need 10 of these guys. So we've been sculpting more here and such on some of these guys right here. So how we did, I hope you had yourself a good stream. I hope that it was fun. And, well, sometimes able to get stuff done, and folks, be sure to give Hobby Dad the follow, because all of us, well, either late night, early morning streamers, we all have to support each other. So I'm trying to do here is basically it's like a horse's head, right? It's the same as the symbol that you see on their flags. AMP Services, how you doing? Nice to see you again. Yeah, we will be taking our usual oil paints to Gamling here once he is done. Now here's some of the stuff that we've done on previous sculpting Thursday. So here is this was the first sculpting Thursday that we did, and that was our Royal Guard. So right there we did 5 of those guys, including the banner. And then we painted all of them on stream. So in the last 3 weeks, all of those guys were painted. Recognize the guy with the banner. Folds right here. We call them old 9 folds. We did the helmets. We did all that kind of fun stuff. It's always fun to put paint to brush and a little paint that didn't want to lose focus after a long day. Yes, that I can definitely understand. So what we were kind of doing is we were showing, see how these separate hairs that we did here on our chariot, we showed how to do those in a somewhat finer way right here as far as the hair goes on this, so that the hair kind of falls over the hair, multiple folds. This one goes under this one goes under these, this one under these 2. And we've kind of generated more folds of different sizes, different heights. This is really, I'm really going to enjoy painting this guy right here. So yeah, it's just, these are some leftover gangs of Rome heads. There's tons of different heads that come in the sets. And I just filed down his hair. And then, well, sculpted some new hair on him that looks more like Gamling's hair. And I absolutely love sculpting. And I was trying to find a way to work it into the stream where it could be more than just, well, okay, I'm sculpting something that's meant to be cast or whatever. No, it's those Royal Guard. Those probably would have cost about $118, something like that, if I had bought those, and they would have been the old nasty metal ones. Instead, I was able to have a whole bunch of fun on a stream, and I sculpted all 5 of them with maybe $20 worth of plastic riders, maybe $23 worth of plastic riders. So for the price of 1 metal Royal Guard, I sculpted 5 and had a blast too. So AMP, I hope that you're doing well. I know it's been a while. You know, I'm going to make me another cut into here. So what we would do with the tool is cutting and pushing. And actually, it's really tough to move some of that because some of that stuff's been there a while. I'm going to take that. Oh, there we go. I just took that tool and right on the end of that here, I just pulled it out a little bit and it made it that much finer. See if I can do that. Yep. Same there. So I'm going back in here and just finding lots of little extra details in here, in his hair. When I first put this stuff on her, it just looked like a little helmet. It looked like a crazy little green hat or something. And just over the course of time, and you can see we've used different consistencies of green stuff. Here's another one of those extra hairs that we threw on. Now that that's been there a little bit, I can do some pushing and pulling on that too. With green stuff, it's very important to be patient. Sometimes you have to put it there and then not mess with it for 15, 20 minutes. It's kind of like working with the oils. You put that paint there, sometimes you have to just be very patient and not touch it again. Give it 15, 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. Some of this stuff I put down here first, gosh, hours ago. Yeah, I don't think tonight's going to be the hype train night, but hopefully tomorrow. Was it last Saturday when we set the record for the 9 hype trains, or was that on Monday? Oh, maybe that was Monday. With the 9 levels of hype train that last Monday with the Balrog. That's right. Yes, it was with the Balrog. Oh, wait, I have the Balrog here. He's sort of dry. He's awful huge, so I'm not quite sure how well he's going to fit under the camera. But this was last Monday here. There's your Balrog. There he is. Mr. Balrog. There we go. So yeah, we painted him last Monday. There's his little base right there. So yeah, that was really fun to do that. See if we can get him this way. You can see him from the other side. So speaking of sculpting, we had to do a lot of sculpting here. These were all sculpted because this is metal. This is a solid ton of pewter right here. The only part that wasn't pewter were the wings. Oh, actually here we can back off a little bit. 1 second. That way you can see a little bit. There you go. Now you can see a little bit more of them. And now you can see even a little bit more of them. There we go. This, I extended out these flames with Liquitex Heavy Gel. We did the same thing on the flames here. On his sword right there. We sculpted it. We had to sculpt some of these here because it was all wiped out. Just completely wiped out. We also sculpted, I'm going to grab my tool again here. We added extra fire right here. And all of these, we added in all of those. And we painted this all in oils. What was this, about a 6-7 hour session or so? Yeah, Lady B, he's fairly big. He's about the size of the Witch King on the Fell Beast. But man, that Witch King on Fellbeast weighed nothing because he was all plastic, right? This thing is just an insane chunk of metal. His face was metal, the arms were metal, that sword was metal, and it was all separate parts. That tail, that's metal, all separate parts. But this was, thank goodness I had the oils to paint this with. And you can see these multiple levels of fire right here. So see there's one level there, there's a second level here, a third level here. This whole piece is metal. So I added all the extra flame to that because that was not there. We took it even further with the paint. This is where we were sculpting with paint because you see these extra little doodads right in here? Those were all painted on. So some of it was sculpted, but these all painted on. And it's very impressive that all this stuff is dry here, seeing that a lot of this was cadmium, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, cadmium scarlet. So even the cadmiums, they will dry too if you give them a chance. And this base right here, this is a solid Sculpey base. We added some Skelly friends on there. There you go. Some Skelly friends. We added the axe. And this is the dwarf texture roller here from Green Stuff World. So this was quite the, Monday project right there. Painting him on Monday. So there's some fiery wings there. That was a lot of fun. So let's get him somewhere where he's not going to get knocked over. Well, at least that's the plan. And let's just move you over here. And let's grab Gamling again. Oof. We got to get closer now. Like so, and a little closer there. So Lady B, I saw your that was your latest sketch right there that you posted on Instagram. Well, I know you've posted a couple things on Instagram the last few days. So folks, we'll either be painting up Gamling later tonight. Actually, probably going to be I would love to be starting at 6. It might be 6:30. But typically, Thursday nights is kind of the late night sculpting stream. Then Friday, somewhere between 6 and 7 Central Time, I start up another fun painting session. And then Saturday, sometimes it's Saturday afternoon, sometimes it's Saturday evening. And then Monday is another about a 6:30-ish start. Wow, yeah, this stuff here, that's hard to move. It is hard. I can still mess with that a little bit, but it's way harder to move around than it was. Way harder. Which makes sense because it's been there for a while. I am going to just flatten that out a little bit now that I've got this thing here. So again, it's a lot of pushing and pulling with your sculpting here. I think that fold almost, there we go. It's a little too fat right there. If it's going to be folding under these things, it had to be more angular. We've been able to do a lot with the hair on the end here. And I'm going to go back up here. And I'd like to also make these a little bit finer too. There's not much there to work with because that's really thin as far as the green stuff goes. Super thin. Still can't believe how much the green stuff stays there. That's just the miracle of time. Even this banner right here. We didn't even stick this thing on here for a good 20 minutes or so. I think after it was first, after it was first put on there. Or we first put it onto the tin foil. Yeah, that was a good long time. But always gonna come back and grab some water if I wanna If I don't want that to be sticking, I have to grab some water here. And this is another case of me just flattening out something. I could see some tool marks there. Now the tool mark is completely gone. Don't see it at all. Ah, okay, good job. I'm glad I'll be able to keep you company at work there. Now that's a little bit too flat of a line here. It's not quite round enough. This is another case I'm going to push this one up here. Because I got basically 3 equal folds. I'm going to try to push this one up just a little bit. It does a couple of things. It also takes that one hair right there and so pushes that off to the side a little bit.